Thank you, sir. I was particularly grateful to listen to Deputy Ward quoting extensively from our manifesto earlier. It's wonderful to hear him talk such good sense. Speaking of sense, sir, unfortunately I struggle to find much of it when I look at this proposition and in particular how it's worded. Of course, sir, the aspiration for a properly funded education system, we'll get to health another day, properly funded education system, and I use the word properly rather than fully for nuanced reasons that I'll come to in a moment, is obviously something that's in the vital interests of the island's social and economic well-being to ensure that every young person has the ability to achieve their potential, whatever that potential is. So this use of the term fully funded is highly confusing, and it's abundantly clear from the questions that have been asked so far that it's not clear what it means. So as the system currently stands for children below the age of 16, there is already a great deal of inefficiency and inequity in how funding for their education is distributed, and yet they're not considered in this proposition. So there are the various formula for working out how much funding is allocated per pupil, and it highly varies across the state system. So you have those who are in the fee-paying schools, whether they're fully private or the state-owned ones, who have a different formula attached to how their tuition is funded from public funds, to those in the state system. And of course, we have the pupil premium, where extra funding is allocated. So which of those is the fully funded one? Are those who aren't eligible for pupil premium getting shortchanged and not being fully funded? Of course not, because the system has all sorts of variances in them to ensure that the proper funding goes to them. So it is absolutely not clear what she's even asking for in this proposition. So it's also the case, sir, that a young person going through the education route of an apprenticeship as opposed to an A-level is having a kind of different style of education that for their day-to-day life and how they're educated is different to that of their A-levels, in that they are spending amount of their time working, and there is an employer contribution to their life as they're being educated, which of course you don't get whilst you're doing your A-levels, apart from possibly from a Saturday job, and that doesn't count as part of your formal education in that sense then. So are we suggesting, if it's to be fully funded, that those going through apprenticeships no longer get paid by the employers for that, but instead get paid by taxpayers' funds for that time? Maybe that's a brilliant idea, maybe it's not, I don't know, but I'm certainly none the wiser for having listened to Deputy Gardiner's opening speech on this, where I don't think an adequate case on it was made at all. So it is an imperative, I think, that Part A be rejected and something better thought through comes back to the Assembly in one form or another, preferably by the Minister, but from wherever anything comes, I hope it's better written than Part A here. Part B, of course, naturally follows Part A and is the normal funding process for these things anyway, so it's superfluous if you're rejecting Part A. So Part C, of course, is tempting. You could look at it and argue that it causes no harm, and I won't begrudge any member that reads it and thinks that too, but it must be acknowledged that it is superfluous, and the evidence for this is provided in the comments to the amendment which Deputy Ward was able to publish, where he cited Hansard, where he's been asked in this Assembly about this particular policy area, and has already to some degree outlined the initial aspects of his plan, which is that he's going to do this anyway, and that we can all eagerly wait in anticipation, because it's not actually going to be that long before he produces that anyway. So in that sense, Part C of the proposition is a complete and utter waste of time and simply asks us to affirm what is happening anyway. The Minister has been absolutely clear about that. So, Sir, I hope members will reject all parts of this proposition, and we can move on to other debates and get a better use out of our time, because what we have before us, I'm sorry to say, has been completely incoherent.